Okay, remember they're changing my voice. I'm not gay, I'm not a nerd, not whitewashed, what have you. If there's background noise, adjust the volume and try to reduce it. People acting very childish in the world right now. One could argue there's no point in me reading these verses, but the main point is to do everything that is logical for me to do before people are sealed in hell with no Redeemer. So Matthew 5, introduction to the Sermon on the Mount. Now when Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside and sat down. His disciples came to him, and he began to teach them the Beatitudes. Okay, it's a play on words for beauty, set, do, because the people in the church, okay, they worship the devil, the West, the governing class, the globalists, what have you, and so they want to control reproduction and control the attractive women. The corporations are very much in bed with the church, so is the government. It's very sick. They distract you with the human trafficking, with the kidnapping, rape cases. It's psychological to distract you from the rich and their allies, taking the most attractive women, quite often coercing them, and so on and so forth. And he began to teach them the Beatitudes. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Those who basically are sad because they're doing the right thing is what he's referring to in the divine order. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Okay, again, that overkills my explanation of the verse before. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Meek toward God. Okay, the inheriting. So those who are meek toward the governing class are inheriting the punishments of the inhabitants of the earth. Okay, in that way, where those who are meek toward God help decide how the inhabitants of the earth will be punished, controlling the fate of the earth in the long term. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Okay, those who are hungering and thirsting for righteousness, right, they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy, morally precise mercy. Okay, so you don't marry someone out of mercy, you don't date them out of mercy, okay, in terms of someone outside the divine order, okay. You know, mercy has to be morally precise and consistent with wisdom. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Purifying their heart in the Royal African Falcon Top Martial Arts Order, right? To purge the impurities, to remove the dross, okay? To remove those things that prevent you from being one with me in the Royal African Falcon Top Martial Arts spirit, and that includes homosexuality, white supremacy, okay, feminism, what have you, being a token minority, what have you. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Peace with God, as Isaiah says, that God said there's no peace for the wicked. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Okay, so I think this is the one I have on my bumper sticker. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Also, I have the one in from Paul's letters, where it says, all who wish to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. We'll get to that. Some more persecuted scriptures. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. So as they persecute me, it's saying rejoice and be glad, right? The wedding banquet, okay? The oil of joy. So women are supposed to rally to me. Everyone's supposed to, especially attractive women. They're supposed to seek that joy of being persecuted for righteousness' sake, not being some kind of bootlicking coward, dating some kind of pussy who obeys the corporate state. That's pathetic. They need to grow up. Babylon, Babylon, right? Rothschild, child. The salt and light. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. So you are the light of the world, right? If you are in the divine order, the light of justice, the light of true love, the light of God's warrior spirit, righteousness, justice, what have you. Okay, the way, the truth, the life, right? Showing them the way to heaven. So obviously other people aren't that. They're obeying the corporate state and so on and so forth, or they're some hermit in the middle of nowhere off the grid. They're not showing people anything but cowardice and foolishness. All right, the fulfillment of the law. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter, not the slightest stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. Therefore, anyone who sets aside one of the least of these commands and teaches others accordingly will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever practices and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. You see how there is an order. And it says the kingdom of heaven has arrived. The kingdom of heaven is near. So there's an order. And people, whether or not they think they're in the kingdom of heaven, they need to respect that order and they need to date accordingly, right? And I'm the only one in the order. So everyone's dates and their marriages are invalid, except for my parents, because they brought me forth, and that's one of their fruits, the fruit of their womb, in that sense. And so they pass by. They pass through the flames. They escape the flames. But the rest of you are not on the path to escape, and you cannot be right with God after I die. You cannot teach. Those who are teaching are in a world of shit, because they're teaching on behalf of the corporate state. They don't have my permission to teach. They're not in the divine order. Okay, they're just thieves, they're cowards, they're fools. All right. Also, it says, what is the fullness of the law, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay, so if you were wicked, you would have them throw you in the lake of fire, because that's God's work. Okay, so it's the fullness of the law, and the greatest commandment is to love God with all your heart, and to love God means to obey me. Okay, those who love God obey His commandments. Those who don't obey His commandments show contempt for God. Those who do not rally to me and insist on the war on poverty plan show contempt for the poor and contempt for God, because other people's plans are just consistent with the New World Order agenda. For I tell you that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees and the teachers of the law, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven. So this part's key. You see how there's a measure of righteousness. He says, unless your righteousness surpasses. So it's more intense, it's more pure, it's more potent. Okay? Do you think that David proved his point that he should be king, by holding a puppy or petting a child? He proved his point with focused moral intensity in the war spirit of God. Okay, so it's crystal clear that I am the King of Kings and you all are in rebellion. Murder. You have heard you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Rakah, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. Therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, and come and offer your gift. So it really refers to people in the divine order, okay? But people in general, you're reconciled in a way that is fair. You're not going to, do a sin to be reconciled. You're not going to marry them to be reconciled. You're not going to date them. You're not going to have sex with them, okay? You're not going to give them things unfairly, okay? It's what is morally precise. What is the wise way to reconcile it? And sometimes you have to see that there's no way to reconcile it with that person, only with God. In my case, obviously, you're supposed to obey God through me no matter what. I'm the one who is set apart as the king. All right. Let's see here. Okay. How much more Christ in the flesh, and how much more in regards to romantic justice? So if you're supposed to be reconciled with each other, how much more, when you're in the divine order, how much more me, and especially in regards to romantic injustice? We can see that people and their offspring are going straight to hell. Their marriages are an abomination. Their sex life, their dating, because of the fact that women don't even have the judgment to put me first. And that is, they are nowhere near consent when they can't even make that call. And you can imagine some clown-ass jester-looking punks, frat boys or something would be like, he thinks that he should be put first. Yes, I'm the top martial artist. You fucking white supremacist geek who would elevate Elon Musk and politicians, man. You people need to grow way up, way up. All right. Settle matters quickly with your adversary who is taking you to court. Do it while you are still together on the way, or your adversary may hand you over to the judge, and the judge may hand you over to the officer, and you may be thrown into prison. Truly, I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny. And of course, the Bible makes it clear that the only logical punishment for sinners is eternal punishment for unrepentant sinners who are in rebellion against my rule. And obviously, I rule on behalf of God, not the pedophile churches, not other people, so on and so forth. Adultery. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Except the upright, led on the wrong path, and lust and a desire for a single person to make love are different. The government technology that causes one to lust momentarily when one has the highest cause does not count. I am above all laws, as I would not naturally do anything wrong, as I am born blameless. I am above the Bible, as I am the law, not the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The Word was the Royal African Falcon top martial arts spirit. Not some Western, Roman spirit. Not the spirit of people in the Middle East. God set apart the Royal African Falcon top martial arts order as the warrior spirit of God. Okay? They have not proved even the slightest stroke of the pen of a proof that they are actually the people that the Bible's referring to in reality. That's why you see the turtle and the hare story, and you assume that a turtle actually raced a hare. Okay? You do not look for a turtle to lead you, no more than you look for the Jewish people. Okay? You look for righteousness. Okay? The worker is worthy of his hire. Pay the laborer his wages. Okay? And the wages of being the most righteous person from the most righteous line is the right to lead. See Galatians 3:28. There's no Jew or Gentile. Isaiah 28:17. Righteousness and justice are the measuring line, not the flesh. The principles the Bible is trying to explain, and it's kind of coded in there because there was a bunch of Romans and Jews who wanted to be seen as superior, okay, and they were concerned with how the story was presented. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. It's like you believe the news about who's ideal instead of sense and wisdom. It's silly. Adultery. You have heard it said that you shall not commit adultery, but I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Okay, so I went over this already. Okay. All right. If your right hand causes, if your right hand, if your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. Also, if you cannot obey God through me, and you know for 100% sure, without any doubt, you will never, it is better for you to kill yourself than to increase the punishment on yourself and your offspring, etc. Because the spirit is greater than the flesh with that same scale. Divorce. It has been said anyone who divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. But I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife except for sexual immorality makes her the victim of adultery. And anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Remember, invalid marriages have different rules. All marriages outside of the divine order are invalid. Okay, he says that which God has combined, let no one separate. Not the church, not the cowards of this world. Divorce. It has been said anyone who divorces, okay, I went over that, oaths. Again, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made. But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne. Okay, so it basically says don't swear an oath at all. I'm almost out of time, so let's just get to the end of this. Eye for an eye, you have heard it said, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, but I tell you, do not resist. Okay, let's skip that one. They confuse the issue. Love for enemies. You have heard that it was said, love your enemy and love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. When love comes into contact with evil, it destroys it spiritually, and it does not tolerate it or yoke itself to it. Okay, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rains on the righteous and the unrighteous. In the parable of the sower and elsewhere, the sun destroys, those who are not right with God. Okay, so that's the correction for that as well.